I'm also curious, his opening statement overall or in parts, do you think that it helped him in the context of what we saw from Christine Blasey Ford?
Well, before he gave his opening statement, we hadn't heard anything from him. We had just heard compelling testimony from her. Now we've heard testimony from him that I am certain people who were like, oh gosh, she's pretty compelling, are more inclined to look for anything in his testimony. Folks that were on his side will look for anything in his testimony and they'll find it in there. They find it in there.
So do you think that it was effective?
It was, yeah, I think it was effective for his purposes. But when you look at it, like what, if anything at all, really can affect this in the long run? Do you think anything that happens here, there needs to be a huge public outcry to slow down this investigation? And it is happening, and it may happen, or to slow down this hearing process for a vote that's supposed to happen like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
or possibly this weekend. There was some indication Trump might be calling for that.
He did what he had to do. I wonder if during this break, people are like, bro, you need to slow down. You need to take a drink, have a beer. I mean, what I would do is be like, this guy clearly seems like an alcoholic. He is like kind of twitching and he's way too aggressive. You're an accused rapist, attempted rapist, and by others, an accused rapist. You should not be too aggressive right now.
Well, we sort of predicted that he would come out and be super aggressive. I think in terms of evaluating the success of it, you have those two different parts. You have his aggressive, shouty defense of himself, lapsing occasionally into barely controlled tears. So I think that the aggressive, shouty thing, I think might play really poorly amongst, for instance, women, but I don't know that he's necessarily trying to win women over. I think that would do well with Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants someone who's strong.
Yeah.
The question is...
But he's crying.
But he's also crying. So Trump doesn't like crying. And not just crying like at one point during his initial statement where he's yelling, and then he gets so sad thinking about the effect on his kids, and then he gets it back together. That might be effective. But he continually, like, he brings up the calendar, he starts to almost cry. Does that read as a person would had to have been lied about to have this emotional of an outburst?
I mean,
that's what Ben Shapiro is saying on Twitter, is that you would only respond this way if you were telling the truth. Is it possible Trump will see that, or will he see a crybaby in his words?
I think Trump will see a crybaby. I think Trump has to weigh that against the perception of having lost something. But the next step in that...
If he were to pull him or something.
If he were to pull him, but then again, Trump could say, listen, I still think he's innocent, but he is too weak to be on the Supreme Court. I win by saying I'm pulling him and replacing him with someone else. You can't deny that there is a midterm election coming up, and any delay works to the benefit of the Democrats. And this, while it does fit into like a good strategy for delay, it is also true that, as was pointed out by, I think, Blumenthal or whoever it was in the preliminary questioning, whenever anything like this has happened in the past, the FBI has been called in to do an investigation. Yeah. So whether you... And what's frustrating about Kavanaugh, Grassley, everyone who says these accusations are too late, that is not what the Time's Up movement's about.
His constant exclamations about beer, and trying to make a joke, it reminds me of a great line from Married with Children, I think it was. It was, give me beer or give me death or both, which I always liked.
Yeah.
He also said that thing, you may make me lose this vote, but you won't make me quit, or something like that.
Do you think there will be a difference in how he behaves moving forward after this recess?
Well, I think the recess is important because it lets him sort of get control of himself. It's possible that in reciting some of those same lines under questioning, he might lapse into that sunken place again. But I think that he needs this break badly, because clearly in the transition from opening statement to the first few questions, he did not recover. He was still ready to sort of, get a little bit like...
She needed caffeine, she said, going into her opening statement. He had too much.
Maybe too much caffeine or something else. It's going to be very interesting to find out what Donald Trump thinks of this. I agree, like as much as he hates a crybaby, he wants a win, and important historical context, in terms of how long it takes to nominate someone for the Supreme Court and for them to get on, no one on the court now has had that process happen fast enough where if it were to happen today, they would be on before the election.
Right.
It's always taken weeks more than that. And especially coming off of the heels of this, it seems like it would take even longer.
And this, for other things that have fallen apart, that would cause Kavanaugh's and Grassley's and Lindsey Graham's lines of questioning to fall apart, is that they keep saying things like, if Gorsuch, or I just want to say that Gorsuch was confirmed by these same people and there was no talk of any sexual assault claims. So their argument that, everyone from now on is just going to be a victim to some erroneous assault claim, no. And that argument was disproven already.
And I think it's even weaker with the additional details they give it. So one of the things that he was saying in his opening statement was not just this is a plot, but it's a plot grounded in anger over the 2016 election. This is a sort of revenge for Hillary Clinton, he said. Okay, well, if that was the case, they would have been more likely to deploy that against Gorsuch, not only because it was closer to the actual election by quite a bit, but it was a seat that hypothetically Clinton would have been able to fill immediately after getting into office. So if there was going to be a revenge thing, it would have happened the last time, not this time.
The only counter argument I can see to that is we weren't even expecting this one. This one is more important. You're gonna replace Scalia with someone who's conservative? That's not a big difference. Right now, this is the most important thing, and timing is utterly of the essence. And for that reason, the Democrats are going harder. But it's not just one person. It's not just one accuser. This is something that keeps coming up.
Yeah, and the mental path that you have to take, I think, to be reasonable but still believe that he belongs on the court, it requires some difficult jumps. I really don't think that, again, you can watch Christine Blasey Ford's testimony and believe that she's lying about the fact that she was assaulted.
Right.
I don't think there's any argument to be made that she would do this purely for political purposes and have it not be based in fact. There's nothing about her that makes you think that. What you have to believe, and that's why they keep bringing this up, is yes, she was assaulted, but she was assaulted by someone who looks like him. She's getting fundamental facts about it wrong. Yes, maybe someone tried to rape her, but not him. And that, I think, sorry, my mic is a little bit messed up. That is just a difficult case to make. If someone had done what she alleges to you, would you forget it? Would you, she saw those people after that. She saw Mark Judge, she talked about that. Would those details become so hazy over the decades that you totally attribute to someone else, that years before he goes up for the Supreme Court, you'd be talking about him in therapy still? That's how wrong you are?
And you'd want, the way that Kavanaugh's here saying, interview me, ask me questions, you would think that everyone else whose integrity has been impugned by this would want to come forward and go through the same hearing.
I mean, after all, Mark Judge is an accomplice to an attempted rape in this scenario. He is not simply some bystander. He helped keep her, he said you should, you egged him on. He was jumping onto them, he was totally there, but he doesn't want to defend himself.
No one, I see you not wanting to go in there, and your argument, whether it's true or not, would be it's just all ridiculous anyway. This whole thing isn't a political attempt, a partisan hit job. That's why you wouldn't do it, but that's why the people who are there, the Grassleys of the world who oversee this kind of process, should say, well, I'm in charge and I will make sure that this is done properly, but they don't care. I think the backdrop of this, when I ask myself what's the other side thinking, is, well, attempted rape, non-attempted rape, lying about it over time, whether that's true or not, the other side wants to kill babies. And we have to stop it. Abortion's important. And that's it.
I think some people will defend them no matter what.
And that's the one thing I keep coming back to.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.